Hello students, welcome back to PUC Economics channel. Now this is a video which is focusing on chapter number 3. Now all of you are aware that chapter number 3 has two parts in it. The first part deals with production and the second part deals with cost. So this video focuses on cost related concepts, majorly the short run cost related concepts. The entire topic is discussed in this video. We have also tried to cover the tabular as well as the graphical representation of costs with formulas and other things. If you can watch this, it is more or less covering the second half of chapter number 3. So go through this video with all patience and focus, and I am very sure you can answer a lot of questions that will be asked in the second PUC Economics final examination.
The topic of cost is one of the most important topics that you should know to make sure that you do well in your second PUC final examination. Now, even before we get into the types of short-run costs, it is important for us to know certain other things. The first thing that we have to understand is the topic of production. Now, you all must be aware that production is a process of transforming inputs to output. So this is very, very important. So inputs can be broadly classified into two categories. First category is the fixed input, and the second category would be the variable inputs. Fixed inputs and the variable inputs. Now what are fixed inputs? Those inputs which remain fixed irrespective of the scale of production. Such inputs are fixed inputs. Very important, one more question. So can we give some examples for this? Examples for fixed inputs would be land, it can be machinery, right? These two can be the examples for fixed inputs. Now what does it mean? It means that irrespective of the scale of production, you may produce 1 unit, you may produce 10 units. What remains constant is the land and maybe the number of machineries remain same. So the scale of production is changing. It was 1 earlier, now it is 10. But land and machinery are same. So such inputs are fixed inputs. What are variable inputs? Inputs which vary with the scale of production. Can we take some example? Example can be, say, electricity. Now what happens with electricity is, if the production increases, automatically electricity consumption increases. Same holds good with, say, water. Maybe water is required for production. So higher the production, greater is the consumption of water. Lower the production, lower is the consumption of electricity, lower is the consumption of water. That's why it is called variable. The meaning of the word variable is it keeps changing. So what do we understand? Production is a process of transforming inputs to output. We have understood that part, right? Inputs can be broadly classified into two categories, fixed inputs and the variable inputs. We have even understood that as well. Examples for fixed inputs are land and machinery because they remain fixed irrespective of the output. Example for variable input is electricity and water because it will increase or decrease based on the production that we are doing. So this is how the inputs are classified. Fine. So what do we understand now? Inputs are of two types, fixed inputs and the variable input. Be it the fixed input or the variable input, we have to pay and buy, right? So we incur cost to purchase them. So the cost that we incur in order to procure the fixed inputs becomes the fixed cost, and the cost that we incur to procure the variable inputs become the variable cost. Simple. So inputs are of two types, fixed inputs, variable inputs. To procure the fixed inputs, we incur fixed cost. To procure the variable inputs, we incur the variable cost. So we can call this as total fixed cost. We can call this as total variable cost, TFC and TVC. So as a manufacturer, as a producer, you cannot tell that I will take care of only TFC and not TVC. You cannot tell I will take care of only TVC and not TFC. Both are like your own eyes. You have to take care of them equally. So you have to bear total fixed cost as well as total variable cost. So the summation of this is what you bear. TFC plus TVC. So what is that? That becomes the total cost. TFC plus TVC is equal to TC. Total fixed cost plus the total variable cost is equal to total cost. Very, very, very important formula. There will be small little problems that will be asked on this formula. It can be asked under MCQs, fill up the blanks. So you have to be very clear about the entire concept that we discussed here and this formula. Anyway, let's go ahead. So now we know TC is equal to, that is total cost is equal to total fixed cost plus the total variable cost. Now we have the average cost. So what is average cost? Definition is, it is the per unit cost that we incur. So how do we find it out? So AC is equal to TC. TC is here, that is the total cost, divided by Q. So here AC represents average cost, TC represents total cost, Q represents the total output, right? So AC is equal to TC divided by Q. Again, a very important formula which all of you have to remember. You can expect 1 mark questions, you can expect problems in the part E of the question paper. And the next thing that is given to us here is the marginal cost. Definition for marginal cost is, it is the cost incurred for the production of one additional unit. Very important definition, very regularly asked for 1 mark. Marginal cost is the cost incurred for the production of one additional unit. So what's the formula for this? MC is equal to TCN minus TCN minus 1. So this is the formula. Again, a very important formula which we have to remember, and we have to make sure that we remember all these definitions that I told and all the formulas. For TC, there is another formula, and the formula is TC is equal to sigma MC. Please remember even this. So simple topic, but you have to remember so that you can do well in your examination. Let's go to the next slide, and here we have types of short-term costs. So here we have the average cost, which we have already discussed, very simple, TC divided by Q. Then we have the average fixed cost. So how do we find that out? Very simple, total fixed cost divided by Q. Very simple formula, but very, very important, because like I told you, in the part E of the question paper, you can have a problem on this. So it is very important for you to remember these simple formulas. What's the formula for AVC? It is total variable cost divided by the total output. So average variable cost is equal to total variable cost divided by Q. And what's the formula for MC? Again, we have already discussed this, TCN minus TCN minus 1. So TCN minus 1. Okay. So this is the formula for marginal cost. So 1, 2, 3, 4 formulas that we have discussed here should also be remembered. Now let's go to the last part of this video. Here we shall discuss the graphical representation. So in the first graph, let us try to plot TFC, TVC and the TC. Whereas in the second graph, let us try to plot AC, AVC, then AFC and MC. Right. Most of us have the confusion how to plot the graphs and all that. So let us make sure that it gets clarified here and you're comfortable drawing the cost curves. So let us have the axis. So this is our x-axis. Always remember this. This is the y-axis. This is the origin. In the x-axis, let us take the quantity that we are producing. And on the y-axis, let us have TC, TFC, TVC on the y-axis. Great. So let us understand one thing. Irrespective of the output, whatever may be the output may be 0 or output may be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Output can be anything. Fixed cost remains fixed. Say a rent for 11 months or 18 months or 24 months based on the agreement, it remains fixed. So how would be the TFC curve? TFC curve is a straight line. It is parallel to the x-axis and it doesn't change irrespective of the quantity produced. So this is TFC for us. It's a horizontal line which is parallel to the x-axis. What happens with TVC is, as the production increases, as the output increases, TVC also increases. It is a positively sloping curve. If the output is 0, TVC will also be 0. So TVC originates from the origin and it goes up like this. So this is our TVC, total variable cost. Now we know TC is the summation of TC is equal to TFC plus TVC. So it is a summation of these two lines. We also know when TVC is equal to 0, TFC is equal to TC. So in the absence of the variable cost, fixed costs itself will be equal to TC. Just put 0 here. So what happens? TC is equal to TFC. So somebody has taken a land on rent or a building on lease or something of that sort. They're yet to start the production, but they're paying the rent towards it. So what does it mean? Production is yet to start. So there is no variable consumption that is happening, but the fixed cost has to be met. So that's the reason why TC also originates from the same point where TFC originates. So we get the TC curve here. So this is the TC curve. TC curve is also a positively sloping curve. It means that as we increase the production, TC also increases. So this is how we represent TFC, TVC and TC. Now let's come to the average cost curves. Again, let us have the axis, the y-axis and the x-axis. So this is the x-axis for us, this is the y-axis for us, and we have the origin here. So we are taking average cost, we are taking average variable cost, we are taking average fixed cost, and we are also considering the marginal cost on the y-axis. Let us take the quantity produced on the x-axis. So if you understand, average fixed cost keeps on decreasing. Why is it so? Let's take an example. Say fixed cost, total fixed cost is here. Let us take quantity, let us take AFC. So we have 3 values that we have taken here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now total fixed cost is fixed at 10 rupees, for example. So 1 divided by 10 is 10, 2 divided by 10 is 5, 10 divided by 3 is 3.3, 10 divided by 4 is say 2.4 or 5, something of that sort. Then it keeps on decreasing. Look at the values here. 10 became 5, 5 became 3.3, 3.3 became 2.5, it keeps on decreasing. So how does the curve look like? The curve would be like this. It keeps on decreasing. Now we need to remember one thing. It is going closer and closer and closer to the x-axis, but it will never intersect with the x-axis. It means that AFC will never be equal to 0, but it becomes very, very close. It goes very, very close to 0. So that is AVC curve for us. AVC curve decreases, reaches the minimum point, and after that it increases. This is the AVC curve. So the shape of the AVC curve is U-shaped, always remember. So you can easily divide this into 3 parts. Call this as point A, call this as point B, call this as point C. From A to B, AVC is decreasing. From B to C, AVC is increasing. B is the minimum of AVC. B is the minimum of AVC. This minimum of AVC point becomes very important when we discuss supply and when we discuss a lot of other things like profit maximization, pricing and other concepts. So we need to remember AVC is U-shaped. Initially it decreases, it reaches the minimum point and after that it increases. Then we have the AC curve, right? Now if you look at the AC curve, it is also U-shaped in nature. Again, you can divide this into two parts, and there are 3 points. Call this as point A, call this as point B, and call this as point C. From A to B, it is decreasing. From B to C, it is increasing. B is a minimum point. Now we are left with the MC curve. MC curve is like this. It resembles a hockey stick. Again, it has two parts. One is the decreasing part, other is the increasing part. You have to observe something here. If you see this point, MC is cutting AVC at its minimum. You must always remember this. MC cuts AVC at its minimum. So these are some of the important things which you have to remember. And when you draw the graph, you have to follow these things and it becomes very easy. Right. So let me just draw the graph for you, maybe little cleaner way, so that it gets registered in your minds and it becomes easy for you to write in the examination and answer all the questions related to this. Fine. So here we go. Let us have the TC first. So this is the x-axis, this is the origin, this is the y-axis. We have TC, we have TFC and TVC here. So the TFC curve is like this. TFC curve is here. Then we have the TVC curve and we have the TC curve. So this is how the TC, the total cost curve looks, the graph looks like. Right. So now let us draw the average cost curves. So how does the average cost curve look? It looks like this. Say you have the y-axis, you have the x-axis, right? You have the origin here. So you have the AFC curve, right? Going very close to the x-axis but not intersecting with the x-axis. Then you have the AVC curve. So here we have to remember the minimum point. Then we have the AC curve, which is above AFC and AVC. Then we have the marginal cost curve. It intersects the AVC at its minimum. And again, you can see three parts here. You can call this as A, call this as B, and call this as C. So this is the MC curve. So these are the graphs related to the short-run costs, which you should remember and learn really well so that it helps you in answering the questions that come in the final examination. If you have liked this video, please hit the like button. Do share your doubts in the comment section and we shall get back to you with clarity. And please do share this video with your friends so that they are also benefited out of it. Please do subscribe if you are ready to subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to do more and more videos and help you do well